And what is up, everyone? This will be my jungle tier list for the new patch that just came out, the new season 2025, patch 15.1. We're going to go over everything you need to know. It's a big patch, but not so much in the notes, but more so on the impact of the game. I'm going to be going over the jungle itself right now and talk about how the changes impacted. First, we're going to talk about the feats of strength, which a lot of people, for junglers, it's a big thing for you because you are the early game. You need to be in control of the game. So how does that generally affect you as a jungler? Well, overall, they're not that strong. They're good, but they're not that strong. They're imbalanced in a way that first blood guarantees you a much easier path to getting it. So if you're not the team that gets first blood, honestly, I just completely disregard it. I think it's quite hard to get. You would have to get first tower and also 3 objectives. So don't focus too much on them. They are something you will get eventually, even without even realizing it. So don't overcompensate by forcing game around it. But if you do get first blood, try to look for first tower, try to look around some objectives. It's never worth it to try to sneak and steal objectives away from people to stop the feats. They're really not that strong. Your game plan is still the same. You play for early game, you play for farming. Jungle is really strong right now if you know how to play it. It's really stressful because how much stuff coming up. There's a new objective. Atakan one is really big. The roses that spawn around the map are also important. You want to hit them whenever you can. They give you a good amount of experience, which also stacks adaptive force, which is AD or AP, depending on which one is your primary stat. So there's a lot for you to remember. That meta hasn't shifted too much. Wukong jungle, one of the best, as you can see. Going into it right away, Viego, Wukong, Nocturne. The trio here, I think Viego hasn't been nerfed because Riot Games loves him. He's a poster boy or whatever. But he's really broken right now. His build path is extremely strong. He's really hard to deal with. And I just think he deserves a nerf, and he's still the best jungler. If I would say Wukong is the best, but he is one of the best next to him. So next, my beloved Wukong. I think he's extremely strong right now. I have a Wukong video coming out the day after this patch notes comes out. And yeah, he's really broken. He's one of the best junglers to climb with. I think he's great overall. He's super good for team fighting. A big thing about junglers that if you want to notice a trend about what's really strong right now, it's actually who's really good in team fights and who can farm quickly. If you're able to farm quickly and team fight well, you're really good right now because that's sort of what the meta has turned into. There's a lot more scraps. There's a lot more objectives for people to sort of group up and fight. So Wukong, one of the best at that. Team fighting is essential. If you can offer front line as a durability, someone who can kind of base tank things, or not so much as a tank, but sort of as a pseudo tank, you're really in a good spot. And that's what Wukong does really well. Nocturne as well is one of those best champions in team fights. His power goes up dramatically because, well, team fights are really important. Also, one thing to notice is first blood and first tower don't give as much gold. So people, the early game gold from kills and stuff isn't progressing so much now. So a lot of the gold for you as a jungler is through your jungle farm, and objective fighting is really important. Nocturne, one of the best junglers for that. I recommend him in a lot of ELOs. Really exceptional in that regard. Next, we have Diana. So Diana, I think, looking really good. Honestly, the new item they introduced, Bloodletter's Curse, I think is a very strong item. Very OP right now on certain champions. But overall, it's a great champion. It's great for champions that want to, shred people with your abilities. Think about this item. It doesn't stack on autos. It stacks on abilities and passives. So your champion needs to stack it quickly. I personally think Diana can stack it really fast. It looks really good in her tank build. Instead of going Void, you can go into this item plus Abyssal Mass and makes you extremely durable and very tanky. So I think Diana is looking really good right now. Skarner, very solid, very OP tank jungler. His build is just really obnoxious. I think Skarner is just so annoying. I don't know why I think he's just really one-trickable, so people are playing really high on him, but also he's just so broken as a tank, as a fighter, as a champion who just Tokyo drifts through the wall and gets you and kidnaps you, so it's really annoying for you to deal with it. So I think he's a very strong champion in this regard. Hecarim, really strong thing we talk about. What's really important in this meta? Farming, being speedy, not super fast, being fast enough to be on objective timers, being able to gank before objectives, and doing objectives well and offering team fighting, utility, some sort of power in the team fight. Hecarim ulti is extremely broken. He's able to stack Q on objectives really well. So he's really good in that regard, and he scales really well off of these items. And most importantly, let's not forget, he benefits a lot from the boots upgrade, right? Because he scales off movement speed. So Swifties, for example, really broken on him. It's a big example of, his power could be tied a lot towards the feats. So he does want to prioritize a bit of that, but he's also just really solid overall. Amumu, a very broken jungler right now in lower ranks as well. I think Amumu jungle, one of the best junglers to climb with. He's just very strong, very simple, very straightforward to play. So if you struggle a lot, you're going to realize that Amumu jungle could be the pick for you to climb out of low ranks like Ludwig. if you want to climb as well. So moving on to A tier, these are just like overall, I think they're just really solid champions in the category of jungle. I think Fiddle is just a really good pick. If you want to one-trick him, he's a really one-trick heavily jungler. So if you prefer that, he can be really good. Xin Zhao, some people are... I was thinking about putting him in S tier, but honestly, I just find Xin Zhao scaling to be really bad. But because games are shorter, so maybe that helps a lot with Xin Zhao. But overall, I think Xin Zhao won't do as well as time goes on. As people, you know, they nerf more about these sort of objectives. His early game's really good. You can pick early game stuff and try to fight for feats. But feats, and honestly, they just got micro nerfs. So I think his value is kind of lower as well. So I wouldn't... He's a solid pick, but not super broken. Udyr, a one-trick jungler, disgusting. He does really well in this meta because he farms. He doesn't bring so much CC, so I think he's weak around that guard, but he also really farms well. He also is tanky, so that's really good. Belbeth as well is a one-trick jungler. She farms quite quickly. She doesn't offer much of a body, so I think her value is lower, but she is really strong in the right hands of the player. Kindred as well, a bit of a one-trick jungler. She's good in this meta, mostly because of just, you know, the boots upgrades are really nice for her. Her damage is really good. And she's able to kind of scale really well with sort of these feats buffs and also the blood roses on the ground, which are really nice for AD and AP champions. Nunu, just a really good early game jungler, solid tank, bit of a one-trick jungler, so I don't know if you would like to play him. Lee Sin, just overall the staple pick of the champion in jungle. He's really solid. He does a bit of everything, not too great at some things, but in the right hands, he can be a very powerful foe. Warwick, a very solid jungler, very good lower ranks, very oppressive in the right hands, very easy to play, very straightforward. He just kind of stat checks you, really good around certain objectives, but his farm is a bit low, so you do want to go into a team mat to make sure you're clearing fast enough to be on timers for those objectives. Kayn, very solid, but hard to say which Kayn is best. I think he struggles a bit in the sense that his early game's not that good. His value in fighting for certain things aren't really in his control. He's a bit of a... he ties towards too much farming, so that could hurt him in that regard. He doesn't bring that much CC. He has to wait for his transformation to even have CC. So he can struggle in that regard. So I think if in the right hands, he's definitely an A tier though. Kha'Zix, I think, also struggles with that, but I think Kha'Zix just always somehow crawls out of the ground like the bug that he is into the higher ranks because Kha'Zix is just a very OP champion in the right hand. So Kha'Zix, solid pick overall, and we love to see that. Gwennifer is really good right now. She is a tank shredder. She is an objective fighter, and she farms really fast. Her biggest weakness isn't having any CC, so she is required to have sort of crowd control in her comp. If she does have that, she's one of the best junglers for sure, especially into tanks. Tank killer is her name. Graves, I really don't like him. He's disgusting. Also, he runs into the issue in this meta where he doesn't have CC. So he relies heavily on his team. He's okay in objective fights. He can stack his E. But I think this guy Graves is my ban because I just don't like playing against Rand. Briar, my girl, I think she's okay. She does bring some CC. She does bring some tankiness, but she does struggle in different areas as well, unfortunately. But I do think she's solid. I think as certain champions are going to be nerfed, new patches are going to come, I think her power will definitely rise. If I was to say people like her, I would say her would go up a lot. I also think other junglers are going to be going up a lot as well as time goes on. Talon, one-trick jungler, very strong in the right hands, but overall a bit of a cheesy pick in my opinion. Volibear is a solid tank, is a good pick, but in the past he was nerfed because of his E because of the Nobori build, and honestly it hurt him jungle more than it hurt him top, so he's just a solid, decent pick right now. Vi is good in certain conditions. There are just a lot of champions that can screw her, but her ulti is one of the best ultimates in the game. So if they're in against a comp who doesn't have any way to like ruin your game, playing against Morganas, playing against Fizz, playing against Elise, you're in a good spot then as Vi. So Vi is sort of like a pick where I value her more as like a counter to knowing who the AD carry and support are. And that's where you're going to get a lot of value out of Vi. Jarvan, in the same sense, it does require Jarvan to know the bot lane to see if he's against like an engaged comp, or sorry, Jarvan wants to see the bot lane to see if the enemy support is Thresh, to see if the enemy bot lane is immobile. If I'm against a Jinx and a Karma, I'm really happy with Jarvan because I can just ulti them and trap them in there with me. A threesome, right? As you can say. Jarvan wants that. If I'm against an Ezreal, I'm against like a Thresh, that's terrible for Jarvan, right? So certain champions really ruin this champion, and that's what hurts. Rek'Sai the Queen honestly is in a bad spot because I can't see these goddamn petals. I'm burrowed as Rek'Sai, and I don't see any petals around me. It doesn't show for me. I'm blind. I can't see. Give Rek'Sai a buff, for God's sake. I can't see anything. I can't get any petals because it's like, what's going on? Where are these petals everyone keeps talking about? And it does hurt her because these petals give a lot of experience. And as a jungler, you're constantly going around the map, hitting them and getting them. So she's okay. She's strong. I have a video coming out soon with her. Stride Breaker, really good on her. Cleaver, really solid. I think she's in a decent spot, but she could really use some buffs right now. Master Yi, just a solid sort of all-around jungler. I think he's okay, not bad. Neferi, honestly, I don't think she's that bad. I think Eclipse Cleaver build I've been trying on her is really good. I'm probably going to do a video on that. But I think she's a very solid pick right now that if you like her, you can definitely pull off. She doesn't bring CC, but she does bring a lot of damage. Elite's in a really bad spot because she doesn't really farm that quickly. She does do early game pretty well, but honestly, I don't know why. I just feel like she's not doing that well right now. It could just be tied to tower shots hurting a lot more. Diving is harder. Getting first blood first tower is worth less, which she relied heavily on because she's so good at that. But I could see her rising up in the ranks as they give, you know, certain champions, certain nerfs. Zac got nerfed a while ago, ruined his win rate, but he's still an okay pick. Darius Jungle, surprisingly, really happy with this sort of meta. I actually think he's really strong right now. I think he's a good pick, especially in lower ranks. Lilia is just mediocre at best. Not really much thought in her. She's an okay AP jungler, but you can't really pick AP junglers and stack AP on your talent, or else you're in a really bad spot. The dog, I've lost to a Nasus jungle on my lower rank account, and yeah, it's kind of disgusting, but not in a good way. I think he would have to, the enemy team would have to be doing a lot of nothing to win. But in lower ranks, I could definitely see the dog having some power, but not that much power. You're better off learning other champions, because learning a passive champion like this as your win con, not going to help you in the long run. Gragas, just forgettable, not really much. Rengar, terrible. Assassins, not being able to go tanky, hurts your build a lot. You need to be a little bit bruiser. Talia, not really much of a jungler, really good mid laner, but not jungler. Rammus, kind of forgettable, not really good. Armor stacking is not that good in this meta. Emo, got nerfed a while ago, not good. Echo, one trickable, not that great. Nidalee, one trickable, not that great. Yorick Jungle, honestly, Yorick Jungle, if you know how to play him, he's actually S tier, but he's really weird. I tried to learn him a bit. He's complicated. I've been practicing him a bit. I do have a video coming soon for him too, but if you know his clear, if you watch this one guy's video, you're gonna do really good. But he also is a very AFK type of champion. Jax, good into counters, certain matchups really good. Shyvana, honestly not as good anymore, needs a rework. Mundo, decent pick, maybe broken Loriolo, but not so much overall. And D tier picks honestly are just not that good. Don't do it. Don't pick them. They're really not worth your time. The jungle meta is all about farming, about bringing utility, and it's all about being smart, right? So you always want to focus on your farm. Farming is important. If you farm well, you're going to win the game. If you play around yourself, you're going to win the game. It's most important to be selfish. Don't listen to your team's pings, and you're going to do a really good job. So good luck on the game. Good luck on the climb. Be sure to like, subscribe if you haven't already. I'm going to be streaming again quite often, so I'll see you guys next time. And yeah, good luck on the game, and good luck on the climb.